Thank you for stopping by. Believe me, you're going to be very glad you did. You are about to meet an author. Her name is Rita Malie. She is an award-winning author who wrote this book. It's called Goodbye America. Now you can find it, I'm sure, just about anywhere, but guess where one place in particular is most fascinating? The Ellis Island Immigration Museum in New York Harbor. This book is on display there, and it is being sold there. Again, Goodbye America. But some good news here. Rita has another book out. It is called Supreme Sacrifice. Now, as I understand it, Rita, this book's setting is first in the Midwest, and then it shifts to the South. And you're familiar with both regions, right?
Yes. I was born and raised in the Midwest, in a still city, Youngstown, Ohio. And then later, years later, I moved to Florida.
Now, before we get into the actual story of Supreme Sacrifice, what about the characters? Did you model them on people that you really know?
Supreme Sacrifice is a story that's inspired by true events. So the answer to your question is yes, by all means.
So now the story then, what is the gist of the book? How would you describe it?
Supreme Sacrifice is the journey of a young woman by the name of April, whose spiritual odyssey heals the pain of her past and unlocks the answers to her father's mysterious death, his accident. The story spans 3 decades, from the 1960s to the 1990s, so there's a lot of historical things in the book. But it probably is simply conceptualized as Death of a Salesman meets Eat, Pray, Love.
Well, it sounds like an interesting combination, or collision, if you will. Death of a Salesman meets Eat, Pray, Love. So it makes me want to hear more, that's for sure. So I'm going to ask you if you'll expand on that for me.
Yes, I'd love to. Similar to Death of a Salesman, April's father has spent a lifetime pursuing success only to find himself a victim and an alcoholic failure at the age of 47. Needless to say, she is traumatized by her father's mysterious accident and many disturbing childhood memories that she has. And she even believes that she caused her father's accident. And it causes recurring nightmares that she has. And years later, she moves to Florida, a state filled with happiness and sunshine, so vastly different from the Rust Belt and the city in the Midwest where she was born and raised. There she embarks on a spiritual odyssey, reminiscent of Eat, Pray, Love. She ultimately finds peace as she gains the wisdom of self-love to forgive herself.
When you wrote this book, what were you hoping, and for that matter still hope, that people who read it will take away from it? What will they learn?
It taps into 3 issues, major issues prevalent in American society today: alcoholism, religion, and the importance of following your dreams. In terms of alcoholism, 1 in 4 children has a parent who's an alcoholic. That translates into 34 million children today have grown up in alcoholic homes, living lives of quiet desperation. I too am an adult child of an alcoholic. We have an organization that we share things. Supreme Sacrifice will touch a lot of people's lives because they can relate to it, the effects of addiction and alcoholism in the family. In one woman's life, it shows how long it takes to heal, as I mentioned, 3 decades in this book, how long it takes to heal from this disease in the family. The 3rd issue is the importance of being able to accomplish your dreams. April was married very young, did not get her education, but struggled later on against all odds to get her education and accomplish her dreams.
I've learned that there is always a story behind the story, so that leads me to this question. Why did you write Supreme Sacrifice?
It became clear when I finished writing the story that it was not only for me and my family, but also for my fellow adult children of alcoholics. We are the children. We understand the ache of disappointment, the sting of the recurring sting of resentment. And there's choices we can take having grown up in this type of childhood. We can go into therapy, we can suppress our thoughts, or we can, as many of us, have drowned the demons in alcohol similar to our parents. But I chose to do something different. My cathartic was to sit down and write my story, to offer some encouragement to others who have traveled a similar path. My story is a testament to the fact that no matter how we sometimes screw up our lives, the spirit to heal and the continued struggle in family never really quits.
Which gives us all hope, doesn't it?
It does,
No
and
matter
it
what
can
you've
be.
been through. Yeah. Well, Rita Malie, thank you so much for sharing April's story. I'm going to take a second to ask you a question, personal question. Do you mind?
No?
We were talking earlier about characters in the book. Who is April?
April is me. I'm the protagonist. But as I mentioned, it's inspired by true events, so it is not a memoir. So there is fiction in it. It is not nonfiction.
Thank you again for revealing your story.
Okay.
In a beautiful mix of real and fiction. Well, before you go away, I wonder if I could get you to read a passage from Supreme Sactifice for us.
Yes, I'd be delighted to. From the manuscript, and this is April's thoughts. How many nights she spent kneeling quietly on a little maple padded three-legged stool beneath the side window in her bedroom, looking across the street at the croquet court, dreaming about studying hard and becoming a doctor someday. Staring at the corner streetlight, she'd lose herself, fantasizing how much better life would be far away from here. She wanted to be where the skies were clear and the sun always shining. She thought that once she walked away from her old life, she'd never come back. Imagine how it was to want to be anywhere else in the world, but on that little padded stool, seeing those headlights creeping slowly down the street again, hiding under the covers, wishing your father would never arrive, fantasizing what life would be like if he never took another drink. She always felt so alone and hopeless, like she was the only one in the world that this was happening to.